I think even to some degree, just time
Yeah, right.
is a big aspect of like, oh, hey, you've been doing this for 10 years now. Yeah, you don't, maybe not a millionaire, but like you're able to pay your bills, feed
Yeah.
your family. Like, oh, maybe it is a legitimate career. Like they still don't think, it's still not, you're not at the top of the list, but you're not also in the gutter anymore. And they kind of just, oh, he's a musician. Cool. I don't really know what he
Yeah,
does, but
well,
he's,
even if they maybe don't like aren't impressed by it, they were at least able to get to a point where they accept it,
sure.
right? And by the way, too, again, I want to kind of hammer this home that like that experience that I had when I was leaving college and went to try to do music thing, the exact same thing happened when I quit my road gig and went to do sessions. I remember
Oh,
my
yeah.
grandmother, she cried when I told her I quit playing for this guy Josh Turner, because she just couldn't believe it. Like, she was a fan for one, and that she told everybody in the nursing home that like my grandson plays for Josh Turner. He's been on the Grand Ole Opry. And she just couldn't understand it. Like, why do you not like working for? Well, I'm gonna go try to do this. And she's like, okay, all right, and I also remember a period, I've told this story a lot. I remember I was really committed to doing this studio thing, right? Really committed. And during this period of time, after I had quit my full-time road gig, I had a handful of other artists, like really established artists, some bigger than Josh, that called me and said, hey, we heard you're not with Josh anymore. Are you looking? Because we're looking to make a change. And I would turn them down because I just was like, no, I want to do this thing. I'm trying to stay focused here. And I would kind of tell my parents, they're like, yeah, I turned down such and such the other day. And they'd be like, oh wow, really? Okay. So I remember this one day, and I was so broke. I was about to be like 2 months late on my mortgage. Like I bought this little house and I lived with Josh, and I was about to get like it was like those like, in 3 days, if you have not caught up on your mortgage, we will start the process of foreclosure. And I called my mom and I was like, is there any way you could loan me enough just to get like, and I'll figure out a way to pay you back. My mom, really sweetly was like, well, we can do that, but I want to come, like, let me come and let's have lunch and I want to talk to you about it. And, the crux of that conversation was, she was like, well, Derek, I mean, maybe it's just not like, your dad and I never played sessions really. And like, maybe it's just not in a thing. And I mean, maybe you should consider taking one of these jobs. There was one guy in particular that had called me an artist, and it was going to be like a 6-figure, a year gig. And I remember like pulling out my calendar, like my physical calendar, and just trying to show her like, I get it. Like, I'm just waiting on the checks. Like, Mom, like, look at all the set, like, look at everything I've been doing. Like, look at all this. And like, I promise, like, I'm this close, like it's about to turn a corner. And like, I heard this record the other day and they copied all my parts from the demo. Like, I'm doing the right things. Like, it's getting close. Like and it's
You
back
can
to that
feel
thing,
it, but it's just
back to
hasn't
that reading the
happened yet.
terrain thing, and it's
Yes,
like,
that's so relatable, man. It's so
and
interesting.
it's like that thing of like, well, yeah, I'm still doing records. I mean, I haven't played on a big record yet, but like all the demos I'm doing now are for all the big hit songwriters. Like, it's getting closer. Like, and my mom was like really rad. It's one of the best, memories of her. And she kind of, I could tell she was like still skeptical, but was like, okay, honey, okay, all right, and she was like, well, just, pay us back when you can. And I was like, I will. And then fortunately, and this kind of ties into that earlier conversation I had about how the money comes in for sessions. It wasn't too long after that period that suddenly the checks kind of started to come in, and it wasn't the stuff I'd done that week. It was the stuff I'd done 3-4 months ago, and it's still kind of that way to this day. You if you're fortunate enough, and that's kind of a particular thing about sessioning, and you kind of get into that phase. All the money's kind of backlogged all the time, and you're dealing with these huge entities that do the accounting and all this stuff. So hopefully you get to that point where you're working so consistently that there's always just checks coming. And so, like I said, it's not what you made that week. It's what it's what you did 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Luckily, shortly after that, I kind of started getting to a little bit of a point where it was bouncing out. I was able to pay her back and was like, thank you. We're like, I'm good now. Like we're starting to, it's all going to be, as long as I don't break my hands, like we'll be good.